Hi, I'm Amelia Parker, and this is the story of how I stood up to my controlling family and found my own path. I'm 22, about to graduate from Boston University with honors. On paper, I'm what you call the golden child of my family. It sounds great, right? But in reality, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Amelia, darling, straighten your posture. A Parker always stands tall. My grandmother Victoria's sharp voice echoes through the grand hall as I walk into the family mansion. Sometimes I swear she has eyes in the back of her head. Yes, grandmother, I reply, forcing a smile. Don't get me wrong, I love my family. But my grandmother? She's a force of nature. My dad, Robert, gives me a sympathetic look. Mother, Amelia's posture is fine. She's not attending a debutante ball, he says, trying to soften the situation. Robert, please, grandmother snaps. I'm merely ensuring our family's reputation remains intact. I exchange a glance with my mom, Elizabeth. She gives me a small, reassuring nod, silently telling me to stand my ground. But with grandmother Victoria, that's easier said than done. Later that evening, I'm in my room texting my secret boyfriend, James. You won't believe what my grandmother said today. I type. Let me guess, something about the Parker family reputation? James replies, and I can't help but chuckle. Bingo. Sometimes I think she has that phrase trademarked. I text back. Well, my grandmother Margaret had some choice words about the Parkers today, too. When will this feud end? He responds. I sigh, flopping back onto my bed. James and I have been dating for months, but we've had to keep it a secret. His grandmother, Margaret Thompson, is my grandmother's arch-rival. It's like Romeo and Juliet, but with more Gucci and less Shakespeare. Amelia, come down for dinner. My mom calls from downstairs. I quickly delete my conversation with James and head to the dining room, where the usual Parker family drama unfolds. Did you hear about Margaret Thompson's latest charity event? Grandmother Victoria scoffs, as if throwing money around makes up for her lack of class. I bite my tongue, resisting the urge to defend James's family. Instead, I focus on my plate, pushing around my organic kale salad. Now, Amelia. Grandmother turns her attention to me. Have you given any thought to which law firm you'll be interning at this summer? I've spoken to Judge Harrison. He's more than willing to put in a good word for you at his son's firm. Actually, grandmother, I start, gathering my courage. I've been thinking about taking a different path after graduation. Maybe exploring nonprofit work. The silence that follows is deafening, as if I just announced I was running away to join the circus. Nonprofit. Grandmother's voice is dangerously low. Amelia, dear, Parkers do not do nonprofit. We lead. We succeed. We dominate. I can feel my resolve wavering under her steely gaze. But then I think of James, of the life I want for myself, not the one that's been mapped out for me since birth. I understand, grandmother, I say, my voice steady. But I believe there are many ways to lead and succeed. I'd like the chance to find my own path. The tension in the room is palpable. My parents exchange worried glances, caught between supporting me and avoiding grandmother's wrath. As I go to bed that night, my mind is racing. I know I'm walking a fine line between the life that's expected of me and the one I truly want. But for the first time, I feel ready to stand up for myself, no matter the consequences. The next day, the Parker mansion is buzzing with activity, champagne flowing freely as Boston's elite mingle. I stand in the center, forcing a smile as yet another of grandmother's friends congratulates me on my graduation. Amelia, darling, come here for a moment, Grandmother Victoria calls, waving me over to a group of distinguished-looking men in suits. I excuse myself and walk over, my heels clicking on the marble floor. Yes, grandmother? Gentlemen, this is my granddaughter Amelia. She's just graduated summa cum laude from Boston University, she boasts. Impressive. One of the men nods. Following in your grandmother's footsteps, I see. Victoria has always been a force to be reckoned with in the business world. I smile politely, but inside, I know I'm no longer walking in her shadow. I'm carving out my own path. Inside, I was screaming. This wasn't me. This wasn't what I wanted. As I looked at my grandmother's smug face, Something inside me snapped. Actually, I said, my voice surprisingly steady, I have an announcement to make. Grandmother's eyes narrowed. Amelia, what are you? But I was already stepping away, moving toward the center of the room. I caught James's eye across the crowd, and he gave me a subtle, encouraging nod. Everyone, may I have your attention, please? I called out. Slowly, the chatter died down, and all eyes turned to me. My heart pounded, but I took a deep breath. Thank you all for coming to celebrate my graduation. But there's something else I'd like to celebrate tonight. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Grandmother Victoria pushing through the crowd, her face a mixture of confusion and growing fury. But I pressed on. I'm engaged, I announced, my voice ringing clear and strong, to James Thompson. The silence that followed was suffocating. Then, almost on cue, James stepped forward, taking my hand. It's true, he said, smiling warmly at me. We're in love. The crowd erupted in shocked whispers. I could hear fragments of conversations. Thompson? As in Margaret Thompson's grandson. But the feud. How long has this been going on? But all I could focus on was my grandmother. Her face was twisted in a rage unlike anything I'd ever seen. She pushed through the last few people standing in her way, and suddenly she was right in front of me. How dare you? She hissed, her voice low and dangerous. How dare you embarrass me like this? Grandmother, I didn't get to finish. Without warning, her hand lashed out, striking me across the face, so hard I stumbled back. The world spun and then everything went black. When I came to, I was lying on the floor, James cradling my head in his lap. The room was chaos. People shouting, some leaving, and my parents desperately trying to calm things down. Amelia, can you hear me? James asked, a worried face swam into focus. What happened? I mumbled, trying to sit up. Your grandmother hit you, James said, his voice tight with concern. You've been out for a few minutes. We're taking you to the hospital. I nodded weakly, wincing at the pain in my head. As James and my father helped me to my feet, I saw my grandmother standing off to the side, her face cold and indifferent. Mother, how could you? My father said, his voice trembling with fury. She's your granddaughter. She made her choice, grandmother replied, her tone icy. She's no granddaughter of mine. Those words cut deeper than the slap. As they led me to the waiting ambulance, I couldn't help but wonder, was this the price of standing up for myself? And if it was I ready to pay it? I woke up in a sterile hospital room, the scent of disinfectant thick in the air and the soft beeping of machines nearby. My head was pounding, and for a moment, I couldn't remember why I was there. Then it all came flooding back, the party, the announcement, grandmother's fury. Amelia, you're awake. James's voice was filled with relief. He was sitting by my bedside, dark circles under his eyes. What happened? I croaked, my throat dry. You've been out for a day, my mom said, stepping into the room. The doctor said you have a mild concussion. I tried to sit up, wincing from the pain. Has grandmother been here? The silence that followed was answer enough. Actually, my dad said, his voice tight with anger. She's been busy trying to control the narrative. It's all over the local news. James handed me his phone, and I scrolled through the headlines. Boston socialite assaults granddaughter at graduation party. Parker family feud erupts in violence. Engagement announcement leads to hospital visit. Oh God, I whispered, feeling sick. That's not all, James said, his jaw clenched. Your grandmother tried to bribe me to leave you. She offered me an obscene amount of money to forget this foolishness and walk away. I felt like I'd been slapped all over again. She what? She also threatened to cut you off financially if you don't come to your senses, my mom added, her voice bitter. In that moment, something inside me hardened. For years, I'd made excuses for my grandmother's behavior, always believing there was love beneath her harsh exterior. But now I saw her for what she truly was, a manipulative, controlling woman who cared more about her image than her family. I'm done, I said, my voice stronger than I felt. I'm done letting her control my life. Over the next few weeks, as I recovered, I put my plan into action. I moved out of the family home, ignoring grandmother's threats and guilt trips. I accepted a job offer in New York City with a nonprofit organization I'd been too afraid to consider before. It wasn't easy, but I was finally free. Maybe I should see someone, I admitted to James one night after waking up from yet another nightmare. I think that's a great idea, he said gently. I'll go with you if you want. True to his word, James was there for every therapy session, every panic attack, every moment of doubt. Despite grandmother's continued attempts to drive a wedge between us, including a thinly veiled threat to his family's business, James stood by me. Meanwhile, grandmother Victoria's carefully constructed world was unraveling. I heard through the grapevine that several of her business partners had distanced themselves, unwilling to be associated with someone who would assault her own granddaughter. Did you see the latest? James asked one evening, showing me his phone. It was a video of grandmother being confronted by reporters outside her office. Mrs. Parker, do you have any comment on the assault allegations? Is it true you tried to bribe your granddaughter's fiancé? How do you respond to claims that you're using your influence to suppress the story? Grandmother's face was a mask of barely controlled fury as she pushed past the reporters, refusing to answer any questions. Karmaza, I muttered, feeling a mix of satisfaction and sadness. That chapter of my life was over. 2 years flew by in New York. James and I got married in a small ceremony far from the Boston Society pages. We were happy, building our lives on our own terms. Then came an invitation to a charity gala in Boston. I hesitated, but James squeezed my hand. We can handle it, he said. We're not the same people we were 2 years ago. Walking into the ballroom, I felt eyes on me. Whispers followed in our wake. Then I saw her, Grandmother Victoria, standing alone by the bar. She looked smaller somehow, less intimidating. As our eyes met, she made her way over. Amelia, she said, her voice lacking its usual commanding tone. I'm glad you came. Grandmother, I replied coolly. She glanced around nervously. I was hoping we could talk. I want to apologize for what happened. I reacted poorly, and I'm sorry. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, an apology from Victoria Parker. But as I looked into her eyes, I saw no real remorse. Just desperation. I appreciate the sentiment, I said, but I'm afraid it's too little, too late. Victoria's face fell. But we're family. Surely we can move past this. Some actions are unforgivable, Grandmother, I said firmly. You showed me who you really were that night, and I believe you. As we talked, I learned the extent of what had happened since that fateful night. Victoria's company had lost major contracts, faced multiple lawsuits from former employees alleging years of abuse, and her social circle had abandoned her. Many had sided with Margaret Thompson in their long-standing rivalry. I've lost everything, she said, a hint of her old anger creeping into her voice. And for what? Because you couldn't follow the plan I had for you? There it was, the mask slipping, revealing the same old Victoria beneath. No, Grandmother, I said, my voice steady. You lost everything because of your own actions. Your cruelty, your need for control, your refusal to see others as anything but pawns in your game. Those were your choices. Now you're facing the consequences. I've moved on, I told her. I'm happy, successful, and surrounded by people who truly care about me. With that, I turned and walked away, leaving Victoria Parker standing alone, a relic of a world that no longer existed. The story is over. Do you think there's ever a point where family toxicity becomes unforgivable? At what moment in the story would you have cut ties with Victoria? Or would you have given her another chance? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experiences and perspectives could help others dealing with similar situations.